Hi, I'm Dennis Gage, and welcome to My Classic Car. Well, this week I'm in McKinney, Texas to visit one of my good car buddies, Don Clark. I've known Don for a number of years, and I actually came down here to shoot a couple of his early 60s Oldsmobiles. But when I got here, he had some Vettes I hadn't seen before, and they absolutely blew me away. So it looks like the day is going to be dedicated to the heartbeat of America. Well, Don, good to see you, man. It's always
Dennis,
a pleasure to be down here.
Good to have you back.
Well, you know, like I said, it was actually your Oldsmobiles that brought me down here. I was so in love with your Jetfire and your F-85, and I was coming down here to shoot those. But I get into your showroom there, and there's so many cars. It was almost, I didn't know what we should do today. You've got such fabulous cars.
Well, thank you, Dennis.
You know, and such nice jobs on the restoration stuff too. You're apparently a pretty strong GM guy.
I am.
and all those GMs in there would indicate that.
Right.
Well, after we talked for a while and stuff, I just, you know, it's these two Vettes that were just calling out to me. I think they're such great examples of these two different body styles.
Well, they are two of my favorites, Dennis.
Well,
good choice.
Well, then let's start with this beautiful blue C3. What, this is a 72?
72, correct.
Okay. Now it's an LT1. What's an LT1?
LT1 was a performance option that Chevrolet offered in the Corvette for 3 years, 70 through 72.
Engine designation, basically?
That's it.
Okay. So it's a small block. It's 350, right?
Small block, solid lifter.
Oh, okay.
And you can only get it with a 4-speed.
Oh, really? Okay.
Correct.
Now, but it's got a big block hood on it, right?
That was one of the design elements that they used, big block hood, and then they added the LT1 striping for all 3 years.
Which really sets it off. I mean, this is a very eye-catching car.
I agree.
I love it. Now, so it was a small block, solid lifter with what kind of horsepower?
255.
Okay. And is it still?
No, this engine's recently been redone, and the horsepower compression bumped back up to about 350 horsepower is our best guess.
Wow. It's pretty easy to turn that back, right?
Sure.
Sure.
Just takes money.
We have the tech. It just takes money, just like everything else. I love the color, though. Beautiful blue. What'd they call this?
They called this Targa Blue.
And it was obviously a stock color.
Yes.
You know, I was looking at this car, and I think the other thing I couldn't quite figure it out that was striking about it is it's the wheels, because those are not stock rims. They have, you know, they got the rally look and everything. But that's got to be an 18.
That is an 18-inch billet wheel.
Ooh, nice.
I saw a set of these wheels on a Camaro recently, and I really like the look.
Yeah, I mean, it's really striking. It really dresses the car up. Now, one of the things I always loved about this car was the T-top, and didn't they have a removable glass back window?
68 through 72, the back glass is removable.
So you could strip the T-tops off, take that out, and you basically have a Targa run.
That's right,
right?
yes.
And interior-wise, it's quite different than a C2.
The C3 and C2 share the same platform, but because of the way the seats are structured and the fact that you sit lower, the feel is totally different than that car.
You more put them on than got into them. They just, you know, they just wrap around you.
This car has a very, very comfortable ride.
I love it. I think my favorite thing about this body was always the flying buttress roofline here. I just thought it looked fantastic. And, you know, this is a distinctly American sports car. There's no foreign sports car looks like this. And I've always loved the C3 design.
Well, the basic C3 design was with us for a long time, 68 through 82.
Yeah.
So we got used to seeing this style for a long, long time.
But you know, the earlier ones had, I don't know, they were a little musclier. I loved how it, you know, kicked up versus they rounded off a little bit later on. And then chrome bumpers, which went away soon after this, right?
Chrome bumpers went away in 73 on the nose and 74 on both ends.
So, in some respects, this would be the pinnacle of styling for the C3.
I would agree with that, Dennis.
That's lovely. In your humble opinion, of course. Let's have a look at that LT1 engine.
All right.
Okay, so boy, that's the small block and it's packed in there.
That is the small block, Dennis, but note that we do have air conditioning and the smog system is still intact on this car. It does take up a bit of the space.
I didn't actually know you could get air conditioning. Was it
72 only.
Oh, really? Okay.
And
wow.
About 200 cars, I believe, were built with air.
It's beautiful, and it runs probably like a new 72. Actually, it probably runs like a new 70 with what you've done to it.
It does.
Can we take it out and run it?
We certainly can.
Yes, well, close that baby up and let's go for a Corvette cruise. Welcome back to My Classic Car. You know, I really do love your Oldsmobiles, the Jetfire, the F85, and I couldn't resist these Corvettes today. But there's a link between that F85 and your Corvette collection, right? What is that?
Well, there is, Dennis. When I was a youngster, that F85 was the only car that I had.
That was your car that's the car when you were a kid.
That actually, 48 years ago this month, my father bought that car, and it was his first new car.
Wow.
And then he allowed me to take care of it for him, and then when I turned 17, he gave me the car.
So how does it relate to a Corvette?
Well, by then I had found this young lady that I was crazy about, and I would go visit her, and that's what I would be driving. And there was a young man in town who people referred to as the rich kid, and he had the same aspirations that I did, and he would frequently go by and visit her as well, and sometimes we were there at the same time. And one particular day, I remember it like it was yesterday, he was there and he left and in his 64 coupe, and I looked to my girlfriend and I said, someday I'm going to have a car just like that. So that's where my fondness for the Corvette, especially the C2 coupes, originated.
And that girlfriend went on to become your wife.
She did, and she's still putting up with it.
Amazing. I don't know how
it is amazing.
I don't know how she does it. So C2 to C3, you specialize mostly in C2 coupes.
Well, C2s were my all-time favorite from way back in my youth. But, and I bought my first Corvette in 1971, but as they are today, the C2s were much more expensive, and for me, unaffordable at that time. So I settled for a 68 that I kept for about 2 years, moved up to a 71, and then to the 72.
And on this one, was it kind of the color and the options that did it for you?
Well, I was really attracted to the LT1 because of its rarity.
And this small block certainly has plenty of punch. And you can always hear those solid lifters. Welcome back to My Classic Car. Well, you're right, that 72 is a nice driving, nice riding car.
That was fun, Dennis. Thank you.
That was a lot of fun. Well, let's talk about something that's a little different. That was a pretty stock car, your 72. This 66 is by no means stock. You've played with this baby.
I have, Dennis, and I set out to find a donor car, and a friend of mine knew about this car. It had been neglected, sat outside for 25, 30 years.
That can't be good.
That
can't possibly be good.
The fiberglass was not in very good condition, and this was an automatic, low horsepower car, so it really didn't lend itself to restoration. And this is the end result.
Well, it's also it's a stunning color. This is not a Corvette color.
This is actually a Buick color from about 2003.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
It looks great on this car, and it gleams. And you've got an LS1 badging, but isn't that a big block hood?
It is a big block hood, and I selected that simply
because it looks cool.
So that's the reason.
Let's just get down to it. It just looks cool. It's subtle, but I think you flared it. And the fenders in the back,
the rear fenders have been flared. I have 10.5-inch rims in the back of this car, and it required about a 3/4-inch flare.
It looks pretty good.
It is a little bit difficult to detect. Now, the chassis is where it all begins. Was converted by Paul Newman up in Northern California. He takes the original chassis and he blends that chassis with C4 components.
Really?
So you have total C4 suspension and steering, and then the brakes have been upgraded from that point to bare.
Wow, so that must be a completely different animal.
It is totally different. The ride of this car is a bit harsher than a stock car.
Stiff?
But it is stiff, but it is much more contemporary feel than the cars from the mid-60s.
So you ripped it all apart. You started with a Paul Newman chassis.
Correct.
Then what?
Did some body modifications, and then we went with a current GM motor, this case being an LS1 with a 6-speed.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And the side pipes, I think, are such a nice touch. And the wheels are Corvette, but they're late model, right?
Late model, around 2000.
I tell you, the other thing that's great about this car, though, is this red it screams.
Well, now this combination wasn't available in '66. I took a little artist license on this, and that's what I preferred, so that's what I went with.
You kept stock seats, though, right? Kind of?
I did. I wanted to stay with the original design.
And you kept the original dash layout, but you've updated with autometer gauges.
All electronic gauges, correct.
And you've still got the funky vertical radio in the dash, but you got some more serious tunes in back.
Right. You know, the original radios didn't work when they were new, so that was essential.
So you really did build this for fun, right?
I did.
You know, if I had to pick probably my favorite of all Corvette body styles, though, it would be this, and it would be the coupe of the C2. I just think that's a beautiful with a wrap back window and everything. I know everybody loves the Roadsters, but to me this completes the design of this car.
I've always been a fan of this body style.
It looks great, man. And any other mods back here?
Other than suspension, stainless steel fuel tank, fillers in the original location, but that's about it.
Did you have to replace all the badging and things like that? That was all shot, I imagine. These are all...
Yeah, everything here has been
new
replaced.
Aftermarket, probably.
Sure, yeah.
So you went with LS1 on this, right?
Correct.
Well, let's have a look at that LS1.
All right.
Oh, now that's nice. That looks thoroughly modern.
I think it's an appropriate look for this car.
Yeah, it is. It is. So are those just standard Corvette covers there?
The valve covers are standard. The center manifold cover is custom made from a few pieces of aftermarket trim.
There's a lot of work done in this car.
This car took a good while to put together.
And then how long did it take to sort of sort out, or was it pretty well she came right on?
Once it was finished, it didn't require any fine tuning, if you will, at all.
It was just fire
Turn the key and go.
Have fun.
Right.
Well, why don't we turn the key and go too?
I think we should.
All right. Well, this ought to be fun. Wow. You're gonna have a lot of fun in this car.
This car was built for fun, Dennis.
Well, I know I'm having fun. It's a cool looking car because it's so subtle what you've done. It's not over the top, but you know that something's been done.
But again, there are those people who think this is really not appropriate.
It wasn't meant to be that way. It didn't come from the factory that way.
I mean, if you want a car that you're going to drive and you need air conditioning and you want tunes, you've got to do this.
Yeah, you do. Well, we've become quite spoiled. You want the nostalgic look and feel of a car, but you want a lot of the modern conveniences. And what you've done, and frankly, the whole RestoMod trend is really that. It's taking this great styling, but bringing it up, to thoroughly modern technology.
It'll be interesting to see how this trend plays out over the next decade.
Yeah, that's true. Well, so much of it is because the aftermarket, it now allows you to do anything, whether it's reproduction stock parts or whether it's performance parts or styling or modification. It's all out there.
Did you ever think you'd see the day when you could go to a Chevrolet dealer and buy a 450, 500 horsepower motor over the counter?
And just drop it in the way you go, with warranty, by the way.
Correct.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful time for the hobby. And when you want to do something like this, it's fine to personalize a car. It's fine to have fun. But on this, you can just have a blast.
That was the goal.
I think you achieved it. Are there any other Vettes in your future?
No, I think I've bagged my limit.
From my viewpoint, yeah, I think you did too. So until our next meeting, remember, honor the timeless classics. I'm Dennis Gage. Happy motoring.